Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at some new cards announced for Photon Hypernova. We did talk about the Galaxy cards a couple weeks ago, and there's been a couple new leaks this week. I've got this video and another one that are going to be releasing very close to around the same time, if not the same day. But this is Gishki support, which I definitely did not expect, but it is cool, and I say this pretty frequently, that when we go back to visiting some of the older archetypes, they seem to be showing love and giving upgrades to a lot of fan favorite decks. There are plenty that could still use it, and I'm sure a lot of people out there would echo that sentiment, especially decks like Volcanics, among others. But little by little, we are starting to get support for a lot of these nostalgic archetypes that people remember from, years back, 5-10 years ago. I think Gishki's probably around 8 years old, give or take, so it's not bad. It's pretty good to see some new support for this. Let's jump into the video and take a look at the cards. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. Before we do, though, I just want to ask you guys to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Click the bell icon if you want to stay notified. I do try to post videos covering all new releases as they come, as well as openings and talking about different things. Bit of a mixed media bag here on the channel, but we do try to make sure we're covering everything new, so this is where you want to keep it locked so you can stay up to date with at least the information on new cards. Now, these are all in Photon Hypernova, which is the OCG set after Darkwing Blast, meaning that Darkwing Blast will likely come out for us in November, and this should be early 2023 for Photon Hypernova. Those dates may not be exact, but they're pretty close, so it'll give you an idea of what we're working with. Starting us off, we've got Gishki Neremanis, which is a level 10 water spellcaster ritual monster, and it has the art of El Shadal Apkalon, sort of. I know there's a whole story there behind the dual terminal archetypes of Shadals and the Gishki and all of that. Based on what I was reading a little bit, this would technically take place in the lore before the final fight ended, because there are Evil Swarm references in here. So if you care about that kind of thing, just a little note, you can definitely find out more details on the lore of dual terminal on other channels. It's not something I'm super well versed in, so I'm not going to dive into it at all, beyond just mentioning that for anyone wondering. Now, this card says you can ritual summon this card with any Gishki ritual spell. If this card is ritual summoned, you can target one water monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. Cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summoned from the extra deck. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can return one Gishki ritual monster you control to the hand, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do that, shuffle that card into the deck. So there's a lot going on here. First of all, being able to be summoned with any Gishki ritual spell is standard among the Gishki, so that is not surprising. But the immediate revival of any water monster in grave is pretty solid. This does combo with some Gishkis that activate on activation, but it does also combo just in general with different water-based decks, things like Atlanteans, Mermails, just to name a few. There are plenty of different combos. Even the tier elements are water, I believe at least a few of them are, so maybe there's some hybrid combos there. Who knows? I don't know what people are going to do with this just yet, but on the surface, it does seem like it has plenty of combo potential within the water sort of field, I guess. The battle destruction is okay. I mean, it's certainly not a bad thing to have. At 3,000 attack, it's not like anything is going to run it over, but the extra protection is solid. And then the last effect is really what makes it strong. I think this negation is really good, A, because you don't have to return this, so if you have multiple Gishki ritual monsters out, you can return a different one, which may actually combo well with some of them that activate when they're ritual summoned. Things like Goose Kraken come to mind. But it also shuffles the opponent's monster into the deck regardless of where it activates, so it doesn't send it to grave, it doesn't trigger entering the graveyard effects, it just gets rid of it until the opponent can search it again, which, in the modern game isn't that hard to do, but you get the point. This is a pretty solid monster for the deck that gives them the ability to actually keep up a little in terms of responding to plays. There are not a lot of cards in the deck currently that can, negate stuff or respond to stuff during the opponent's turn, and as many of us know, that's kind of where modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Has shifted. This does also get around certain hand traps, so there are things to consider there. It's a very neat option, and it does have the ability to utilize its, own effect multiple times in a turn as well. If your opponent were to activate a hand trap of some kind and you bounce this to the hand and then can then ritual summon it again, you can revive another water monster. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on here, and the typing and attribute definitely work in its favor within the deck. Now, Gishki Grim is a level 2 water fish monster that says if you ritual summon exactly one water ritual monster with a card effect that requires the use of monsters, this card can be used as the entire requirement. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one Gishki monster from your deck except this card. Also, you cannot declare attacks for the rest of this turn except with ritual monsters. You can only use this effect of Gishki Grim once per turn. So it's essentially a tour guide for Gishki. It does have some neat application in the sense that it doesn't care what you do with the monsters you bring out. So there are going to be some combos that exist where you can go into different Link or Xyz plays, but not being able to attack for the rest of the turn except with ritual monsters might hinder that in some regard. The being able to ritual summon using just this kind of falls in line with Gishki Vision and the other Gishki whose name I just can't remember off the top of my head, but they both have effects that allow, I believe it's Shadow. They both have effects that allow you to activate when they are, you know, tributed using themselves as the full ritual, so this is another good option to have. But being able to special any Gishki and not negating its effects is definitely a strong option. So really good main deck support for a deck that has sort of lacked in that department, especially in terms of actual starting plays outside of a small few. It's definitely a good option to have. Now, Gishki Ice Mirrors, a new ritual spell that says this card can be used to ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster. You must distribute either one face-up monster your opponent controls, or monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal exactly the level of the ritual monster you summon. If you do, lose life points equal to the summoned monster's original attack. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Gishki monster in your grave, place it on top of the deck, and if you do, place this card on the bottom of the deck. So being able to tribute an opponent's monster to ritual summon is really powerful. Not super broken or anything in today's game, but it's still a powerful effect. Of course, your biggest downside is that there aren't Gishki monsters for every level, so you are going to be hoping your opponent has either 8s, 6s, or 10s. 8s are pretty common, but the other two are not anywhere near as common, meaning you're not necessarily going to utilize this all the time. And based on the way it's wording, I think you'd have to have the levels be the same either way, but I'm also not sure as I sort of react to this going through it. You must also tribute either one face-up monster your opponent controls or monsters from your hand whose total levels equal exactly. So you might be able to bypass this by attributing an opponent's monster, regardless of the level, in which case the card is significantly better, but I don't know whether or not that's the way it's intended to work because this is a rough translation. So if anyone does know, drop it down in the comments below and let me know, because the way it's worded, again, does suggest you can do it either or, but I don't know if you need to have the levels match regardless. If it does, again, it is a really, really good card because then you can distribute an opponent's monster and not worry about the level and just get rid of something to put your monster on the board. But I guess we'll find out because I genuinely don't know based on the wording whether or not that is the case. But this is definitely a really good ritual spell for the deck either way, and definitely an option you want to have because you are able to put it back like the other Gishkis while also removing problematic cards via tributing. Now, the last one is Aqua Mirror Vocalization, which is a spell that says add one Gishki monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase, if you control a water ritual monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, set one Aqua Mirror spell or trap from your deck or grave, except this card. You can only use this effect of Aqua Mirror Vocalization once per turn, meaning it is not a hard once per turn for that first effect, which means you basically have a 3-of in the deck that can search anything you need, and that is going to combo extremely well with things like Gishki Grim, which can just be summoned and special. There's some really cool options here with this deck now that they have access to a card like this, and most of the Gishkis are not hard ones per turn, so being able to open multiples of this is not going to set you back. It can set your ritual spells and the few rare Gishki traps that I don't think anyone actually plays from the deck as well, so it does have that going for it, and it does have to be during the end phase, so I'm not sure how powerful that is overall. The first effect, though, is really good, just being a generic searcher that gets you to anything you need and doesn't have a hard once per turn restriction. So that being said, I actually think these cards are really good. Whether or not they'll be enough to make Gishki competitive in the current format, which is extremely fast-paced, remains to be seen, but I guess we'll have to see what people come up with. I know some people were hoping for Necros support, and I do think it's possible that could be on the horizon at some point as well, because aside from that one-off Necros card we got in the original Ghost from the Past, I don't think we've gotten one since Secrets of Eternity, maybe, when Gungnir came out, unless there's one I'm missing, but it's been a long time either way. So I'm definitely excited about this, and more so excited to see if they give support to some of these other dual terminal archetypes. I think things like Gen X and Flamvell could definitely benefit from some support. Those are really cool concepts that were just never really fleshed out, and all of their cards were super weak, so they didn't get much play. But either there, let me know what you guys think of this. Are you excited about this? And if anyone does know about the ruling for the Aqua Mirror and wants to kind of clarify that for me a little, I would really appreciate that down in the comments below, because I'm just confused by the verbiage and whether or not that would actually make a difference. That's going to do it for this, guys. If you did enjoy, please hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. This video is brought to you by yourplaymat.com. Create your own custom playmats, card sleeves, and more by visiting yourplaymat.com today using the affiliate link in the description below. Use my code LS10YP and save 10% off your purchase while supporting the channel directly. Thanks again to yourplaymat.com for sponsoring this video.